Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night from where when you're watching this video. This is John from IT Skills Academy, and in this video we'll be creating a Facebook clone using HTML, Tailwind CSS and a little JavaScript. This video is for Tailwind CSS beginners as well as those in the intermediate level. We'll start by just knowing our way around what we'll be creating in this video. We will tour it in a structure-wise manner. I mean component by component. That way, you're going to have a picture of the whole Facebook clone structure that we'll be creating in this video. By creating this simple Facebook clone using Tailwind CSS utility classes, you will become more than familiar with Tailwind CSS, and that way you can create almost anything that you can imagine in the context of web design. As we build it from ground up, I will explain each and every step on the way in its most basic form. Well, Facebook is a famous social media platform around the world, so it's my hope that you have interacted with the platform in one way or another. Rapidly build modern websites without ever leaving your HTML. That is what Tailwind CSS has to offer. If you're just getting started with Tailwind CSS, I would invite you to watch my Tailwind CSS crash course that I have in this specific YouTube channel, so that you can be able to learn how you can be able to get started with Tailwind CSS in terms of if you want to install it, how you can be able to install it, or if you just want to test it, how you can be able to get started with just testing the Tailwind CSS classes. But for this specific video, I'm just going to give you an overview of what or how you can be able to get started with Tailwind CSS. So currently I'm on Tailwind CSS website. It is the tailwindcss.com, as you can see on top here. So to be able to get started, it's very clear that the button is here, get started. So I'll just smash on that, and that should just take me to the Tailwind docs and in the installation page. And here we see that we have several ways that you can be able to get started with Tailwind CSS. You can be able to use the Tailwind CLI. This way you're going to follow these steps to be able to install Tailwind CSS on your computer. So in my previous video, I have explained how you can be able to follow all these steps so that you have Tailwind in your project. If you already know how to install Tailwind CSS on your computer, or you have already installed it, then you can be able to skip this specific part. If you don't know how to go about it, then I will invite you to just post this specific video, go watch my Tailwind CSS crash course. I'll be leaving a link in the description of this video so that you can be able to know how to get started with it. But one of the most easiest ways that you can be able to get started with Tailwind CSS, if you just getting started and you just want to play around with the Tailwind classes, then you can just come and use the play CDN. So use the play CDN to try Tailwind Lite in your browser without any build step. The play CDN is designed for development purposes only, and is not best choice for production. So if you're looking for a production, this might not be the best choice, and the best choice can be the Tailwind CLI. So for this one, it's very easy. You're just going to add the play CDN script to your HTML. So add the play CDN script tag to the head of your HTML file and start using Tailwind utility classes to style your content. As you can see, it is clearly indicated here. You can just come and grab this specific script, this one, and just have it within the head of your HTML file, and you are ready to get started with Tailwind CSS. So those are some of the two ways that you can be able to easily get started with Tailwind CSS. for me, I've already installed the Tailwind CLI because I'm looking for production and I may like to customize my Facebook clone or my website the way I want. So that way I will go with Tailwind CLI, but as well, to get started, you can just have the pre-CDN. What we are currently viewing is the basic HTML structure for the project, and I've also linked to the style.css and also included the title for our project. And down here now we have the body ready for the project. So before I also get started, I would also like to mention that I've also included the images that we'll be using for this project, and they are in a folder called images inside here. So whenever we need an image, we'll be pulling it out from the images section there. Okay, so now having mentioned that, the next thing that I would also like to do is to test whether our style.css is working or we have linked to it successfully. So I will just come and maybe have a h2 here and just have some dummy text within it, and then now I can just try to add a few CSS classes here just to test whether everything is working. And so we're just going to talk over class. And now here I can just come and maybe talk about text to XL. So that is just the size for this specific sentence that we have here. And what that basically means is that we are adding a font size of 1.5 rem and also a line height of 2 rem. So this is something that we call the IntelliSense, and it will be helping you to understand the classes as you're going to add them. Especially if you're coming from the CSS world, you may be like confused a little bit with these classes. So this IntelliSense will just be helping you to understand these specific classes that you're adding and what they will be doing to your code. So I can also add one more utility class here, and it's one that will help me to color this sentence here, or add some color to this sentence here. So because I'm adding the color to the text, I'll start with text, and then I'll talk about the color that I want, the pink, and also the saturation for that specific color. So in this case I can talk of 500. Well, let's see how that looks on a browser. So here I'm going to switch to Microsoft Edge, and by just adding those two classes we're able to achieve this. So the text is this big, it's 2XL, and it has that pink color with that specific saturation. And what is even more interesting is that I can also be able to increase or reduce the saturation by just playing aloud with this specific value here. So here I'm just going to get a different color. I don't know what that is. Yes, it's dark pink. Yes. So we can also make it less, like we can talk of 200, and so now it will appear like that. So it's very powerful, and you can be able to customize it the way you want. So the same to the text. If I want it to be smaller or bigger, I can be playing aloud with this specific value here. For instance, I can talk of 4XL. And so now you can see the text appears in an even bigger size. Okay, so having tested that and we have already seen that that is working, then we can now get started with the project. Alright, so to get us started, we're going to have the top navbar. So what I'm doing here is I just want to have a comment here. I'm just going to call it top navbar. And our top navbar, we're going to wrap it within a div. So I'm going just to create a div, and within which I'm going to have a container. I'm just going to call that container a nav. So this is where our top navbar will appear. And let's just style this so that first of all we see what we have here. So I'm just going to have this with a class, and just to make it visible I can just give it a background. Let's just give it a background of green 500, and let's just have it with the background just like that. We're going to add some more stuff later. So that will be our top navigation bar. It will be wrapped within that specific div. Now below that, now we're going to have the other components. So I'm just going to have that below here. Maybe for this one, just for understanding, I can just call it body. And now below the body here, now what we're just going to have is a div that will wrap the components within the body. So I'm just going to have at least 3 divs. So here I'm going to have the second, third, and the fourth component, name them or number them that way. So that will be number 2, and this will be number 3, and we have the fourth component there. So this is what we have so far. So it is appearing in its default way or manner, but we can now try to take advantage of the Tailwind CSS classes and try to style all that. So what we can do for our top navigation bar here, let's just add some height to it. Maybe I can talk of height of 14, and first of all we can just leave it as it is. So for this second and third and the fourth component, I want them to flex in a row. I want them to be horizontal. So for that, I'm just going to add a class of flex here. So that is flex, and that will just make them to be horizontal. Plus also just to have a good picture of this whole thing here, let's just try to add a few classes to this specific divs. So for this one I can just give it a background color. So let me just talk of background color of red and let it have a saturation of 200. For these and these, let me just combine all them together so that we can save time here. So I can again add a class to them. Oh sorry, should have a C here. And so I can just again talk of BG, and I can also talk of red, but now this time loud. I can talk of let's say 400 for the first component. But for this one, let me just increase the saturation for this, and maybe I can make it 600. So when I just view that, let's see what we have here. Okay, so that's what we have now. But now we want it to take the whole screen. We want it to cover the whole screen. So for that I can just talk of width, and the first one I'm going to give it a width of 1/4, and this one we are going to have it with a width of 1/2. Oh sorry, this one should be inside here, and the last one will have again 1/4. So now if we try to reflect that, now we're going to see that they are going to take the whole screen like that. So we have the left, we have the middle, and we have the right here. But now also we also need them to like occupy the whole available space here. So for that I'm going to again add height. So, and because I want them to take by default the screen height, I'm going to come and add this specific class. So it is H and then screen. So that will be a height of that class will add a height of 100 VH. So if we try to refresh that now, we should see these components now taking the whole available size. So horizontally and also vertically we have acquired all the available space. And now if we try now to look at what we have right here, the completed project, now it is built on this specific structure. So having this structure, now you'll have a basic understanding, and now you can be able to build everything now from this specific basic structure. So let's now start to concentrate with each and every component, now starting with the top navigation bar. So we are going to add the various items within it and also style it appropriately. So let's get started there. So we're going to get rid of this. So get rid of that, and here I'm going to have at least 3 containers. Let me just have them, and then I'll be explaining as I continue. So these will be 3, and just for better understanding, I'm just going to number them as 1, 2, and 3. So the reason as to why I want to have them like that, if we look at the completed project here, we have the very first div here, we have the second one here, the middle, and then we have the third one. So that's now how we want to have them there. So we can even add some colors to them so that maybe you can also get to understand better. So I'm going to just come and make it easy, highlight all of them, and add a class BG can talk of pink 200, and then I'm just going to check the saturation here. Maybe this one can be 400 and this one will be 600. So if we now try to look at the results there now, see what we have. So now we have it appearing like that, so that will be the default alignment, but now we want them to be in a horizontal layout. So in that case, now I need to come to the nav container here and add a class of flex, so that now will make them to be aligned horizontally. Yeah, so something like that. But now we have a problem now, because they have occupied a very little space here, so we want them to occupy the whole available space for this specific component. So for that, first of all, I'm just going to get rid of the background color here, and I'm just going to give them a maximum width of full. So the height is 14, but now for the width we can talk of full, so that way it will cover the whole available space. Okay, and as it looks like nothing much has happened, but now with that, if we now come and add another class here, like justify between, we are now going to see that the specific items in that specific component, now they will be distributed in the available space that we have there, as you can see. Now, as you can see, now our items appears on top of this specific div. We want them to appear at the center, so for that we can come and add a class of items center, and now what that does is that it is going to have the items aligned at the center of this specific div, as you would expect, like that. Also, we don't want the items to be in the margin, in the left and the right. So for left and right we can add a padding, and how we add padding in Tailwind, right and left is we talk of padding and then X. So the X like starts for right and left, and we can talk of a padding right and left of 4. And now what that of course will do is that it's going to push our items away from the margin, and so now we have that reasonable space there. We can also now come and talk of yet another utility class. Maybe we can add a shadow to just have it being a medium shadow. We don't want a very big shadow. And also for the background, we can just give it a background color of white. So if we refresh now, that that's what we are going to achieve over there. So for the background, for the shadow, we might not be able to see it at the moment, but we are going to see it as we continue. So that way now I can be able to get rid of the background colors for these specific divs. So let's just try to fix that here. That was just for you to visualize or view that. Okay, so for our very first div here, we're going to have both the Facebook logo and the search field. So for that, I'm going to have them wrapped within a specific div. And so now we're going to start with image. We're going to get the image from the images. So I have the image or the Facebook logo just named as Facebook. And now below that, we are now going to have the search field, and again we are going to have it wrapped within a div. So that is the input, and we're just going to have it with the type of text, and we're also going to just add a placeholder for it. Sorry, placeholder. Okay, let's just get curious and try to see what we have so far. Oh, sorry, this is what we have, and things are just looking a little bit messed up, but we can just be able to fix that with just a few classes. So let me just start with the very first one here. Okay, let me just start with the image, just to make things easy to just understand. So for this, I'm just going to give it the following utility classes. So first of all, I want to fix the width of this specific image. So I want it with a width of 10. I also want it to have a height of 10. I also want it to be like a circle, so I'm going to add the utility class rounded full. Sorry, this should be rounded full. And that's it for the image. If we need to add any other class, we can just add that, but a little bit later. Let's try to style our input field here. So these are the classes that we're going to add to the input field. So the first input, or the first class that we're going to have here, is a background color. So we need to give it a background color. So we're going to have it the background color of gray. For the text size, it should be small, so text SM means that the text should be small. For the color of this specific text, it should be gray 800. Not to forget that we also want this specific input field to be rounded full, and also for the width, we're going to give it a width of 48, so width, or W8. For the height, we're going to talk about H10, so we're going to give it a height of 10. And we can just have it as that for now, or like that for now, so that we can maybe first of all preview. Yeah, because as we said, we'll be curious here. We'll have a lot of curiosity to know what we have so far. So this is what we have so far, and nothing is wrong with this. We just need to add a few more classes so that we have this fixed, so that now we have, or we achieve this kind of an appearance here. So it's very simple, because now these two items are aligned in the default order, that is the vertical order, but in our case we want them to be in horizontal order. So for that specific case, now we're going to go to the div that is lapping both of them, and to just fix that, you can imagine that we're just going to add a class, just one class, flex, and now that will have everything fixed. So let's just try to refresh that, and as you can see now, everything is fixed. So we now just need to have a space in between the two, and because it is space right and left of these two items here, then we're just going to talk about space, and to mean, or to say that we want the space to be right and left, we're going to have it with an X. So X means right and left, and then we're going to have that with a 4. So the 4 now is the size of the space in between those two items. And that's all with that. Well, if we refresh that, then we should see something that looks like that. So that looks very fine. Now for the input field, one of the things that we want to fix is this outline that appears when we click it. Plus also, we also want to fix this padding of the text. We don't want it to be in the very margin there. So to be able to fix that, then what we're just going to do is we're just going to add a few classes to the input field. So right here, first of all, I'm going to deal with padding. It is padding left and right, so for that I'm just going to talk of px, and let me just add a 4. For the outline, how we are going to fix that is we're going to talk of focus, and we're going to talk about outline none. So outline none. So that now we'll have, sorry, typos today. So that now we'll have the outline removed. So let's just refresh that and see if that is fixed yet. Okay, so that is not fixed yet. Let's refresh one more time. Yes, that is fixed, and also you can see now the text is now like away from the margin. It has that padding of 4, just like we have applied there. So that looks fine, it's okay. So we are done with that very component. If we try to review with this, yeah, they almost look the same. Yes, although this one looks like the padding is a little bit bigger here. So for the, not the padding rather, but the space, let me just talk of 5. I think this should be 5. Yeah, but you can put any space, of course. Just need to have some spacing there for readability and also for better presentation. So okay, so I can just say that we are done with that very first container there that is holding the image, which is the Facebook logo and the input field. Okay, so that now being done, now we can continue to the next. So this middle component here that has these cool icons and the hovering effect, so that now will appear in the second div here. And I hope this structure that I have here is making you to understand everything that we are doing here. Well, for the components in the middle, we are going to again have them wrapped within a div, and here we need at least 5 of them. So I'm just going to talk of div and then 5. So I should have at least 5 containers there, and in fact I'm just going to label them just so that you can be able to view that. So I'm going to number them from number 1 to number 5, and so we are now going to have something like that. Of course, now we want them to flex, so I'm just going to talk about flex. Sorry, I'm very fast, so I should add a class first and then should talk of flex, so that will have them aligned in a row. But other than having them to flex, we want them to also appear at the center, but we're going to add those classes later. Let's first of all try to add some spaces in between them, because now if we refresh this, we're just going to have them within a row, but they are too close to each other, so we need to be able to flex or to add some spaces in between them. So for that specific case, we'll just be adding a px in each and every div here. So for instance, I can just come and try to add that here so that you can be able to see it practically. So I'm holding Alt and then selecting all the divs, and so that way I can be able to add the class, and I can talk of px of 14. And now what that will do is it should create some spacing between them like that, just like that. And now we also need to fix something here, they look as if they're too much to the right. We want them to appear on closer to the left here. So the way I can fix that is within this div that is lapping these specific containers here, I can just come and talk of PL. PL is now padding left, and I can talk of 0, and also I can talk of padding right. Again, I can just add a 4. That will move them, but just a little. So let's see if we now try to align them at the center. Let's just try to talk of items center. Sorry, items center. Item center. Okay, they now appear the center there, but still we don't have that fixed. Let's now talk of justify center. That looks like we still have a problem there. Let's try to add some colors to these and see what's the problem. Let me just try to add a color here. BG green 500. Let's see what we have here. You have all that pushed to that side. Okay, so let's also try to have another color here. So this is one of the ways that you can be able to fix your classes. So let me just try to talk over BG pink 500, and we're also going to give some color to the last component here. This is one of the ways that I'll just try to fix. So I can talk of blue. So let's see what we have here and why it's appearing like that. Okay, so let me see how we can fix this. So for instance, if we come and add a width here, maybe this one we give it a width of 1/2. That is 1/2, sorry. And for this one we give it again a width. We can give it a width of 1/4, and the last one also we give it a width of 1/4 again. Yeah, so that way we'll have fixed that. At least that looks good. So now we can get rid of the background colors. So they have helped us a lot. Thank you, background colors. You have helped us a lot to fix that very big issue that we had there, or very small. Oh no, very big issue but easy to fix. Yeah, so now that means we are good to go now. That appears very well. So now the next thing that we can now do is to add the icons. So for these specific icons, we are going to get them from one of the resources provided by Tailwind CSS. That is the hero icons, or the icons. So we are going to get them from the hero icons. So this is a platform provided by Tailwind CSS, from where you can be able to get some of the basic icons that you can use in your project. So how this works is that we have all these icons here, but of course you can be able to search for a specific icon. So the icon, on the first icon that we need is the home, and I think we need the solid one. So I can just switch to the solid one here. Oh sorry, we don't have the solid. Yes, so I need the solid one here, so I'm just going to pick the SVG there. And so now I'm going to have that here. You see, now I have them in various divs. So also the SVG are wrapped within some divs that helps us to be able to structure that and understand the whole structure very well. So that's it for that. We also need the flag. Well, so there we have all the SVG icons that we need. Let's try refresh, and you can see everything is taking shape very quickly, very fast, as you would expect there. So we just need to fix the sizes. As you can see, these are a little bit bigger, so we just need to fix the size there very quick. So for the sizes, we just have the class here. So I'm just going to change this from 6 to 8, and that will be all. So let me just try to fix that real quick. Good, and now we have something like that. Well, one of the other things that I can do is to reduce the color. The black color in these specific icons looks a little bit sharp, and I think we should just try and reduce it a little bit, just to make it look a little bit more appealing to the eye. So what I can do is that I can go to the specific SVG class, and I'm just going to add a class of text glare, and I'm just going to reduce that to 500. So I'm just going to have that in all the SVG icons that we have, so that now I'm like specific on the color that I want to be used to display the specific icons that I need. However, that will be with the exemption of the very first icon here, which instead of having gray, it should have a BG of blue, and I can just talk of 500. Okay, so that should look a little bit fine, but still one of the other things that we can also add is a hovering effect allowed those specific icons. And so again, with this, I'm going to go to the specific divs that houses the specific SVG icons that we have here. And so now to be able to achieve a hovering effect in Tailwind CSS is pretty easy, because all you just need to do is to add the class of hover, and now again specify the hovering effect that you want. In my case, I want a background, and the background should be gray, and I can also specify the saturation, in which case it will be 100. I also need to give this hovering effect, because it's a background color, I want to give it some room for breathing, or breathing room. So I can just come and add a padding, and this padding I just wanted to affect the top and bottom. So for that, I'm just going to talk of Y, and then again I'm going to talk about the size of the padding. So PY means padding top and bottom. So again, I can also come and talk about rounded MD. So this will just make sure that that background color that I'm going to have within the corners, we are going to have it rounded medium. So I can just again grab that, or those classes there, and I'm just going to have them in all the divs that houses the SVG icons that I want affected. And so now we can try to see what we have achieved so far. So I'm just going to refresh here, and now we have that hovering effect allowed that. Only that we need to fix the last one and also fix this one. We should not have the background color of blue. Instead, we should have it with text and not background. So let me just show you how we can fix that. So here, instead of BG, we were supposed to have it as text. Sorry, so that should have that fixed. And then now we should also have the hovering effect in our last div here. I think it was not applied as it should be. Okay, so it's still there. I think it was not refreshed completely. Let's try to refresh and see if that is fixed. Alright, that is fixed as you would expect. Wow, that looks beautiful, but still we have more to add. We have a few icons to add here, so that now we finish with this top navigation bar here. As you can see from the finished project, these are the 4 SVG icons and the profile picture, of course, that we need to add there. So let's get back to the Visual Studio and try to fix that. So I'm just going to come and get rid of the 3 here, and now below that, what I just need to do is to add at least 4 divs. So these are the divs that are going to at least house those items that I need to add there. In fact, I'm just going to number them here, because I just want to build this from ground up so that everyone can be able to understand. And this, I have it with a class of flex, and this just makes sure that or ensures that the items that will appear here will be in a row layout and not by default in the column layout. So having achieved that, therefore, then I can now be able to come and fix each and every container here. But just before I do that, I also want to add a few classes to the parent div here, and just one for spacing. So because I want the divs to be spaced out, so I'm just going to talk about space, and because I want the space to be right and left, as usual, I'm going to talk about X, and the size of the space should be 4, and that's about it. Now I'm just going to go to the specific children here, starting with the very first one here. So here I'm just going to come and add a class, and because these classes will be like similar in all these divs here, I'm just going to come and hold Alt, and then I'm going to select these divs like that, so that now as I'm adding the classes, I'm adding the classes to all the divs that we have here. So the first class that I just need to add here is flex, because I need the items to I need to play around with specific items within these specific divs. So I'm also going to give these divs a background color, so that will be gray, and the saturation will be 200. And also not forget that I also want them to be loaded, and that should be loaded full. That makes it to look like a circle, and the width for this specific div will be 10. Not forget the height as well, we should be equal, so it should be 10 as well. And also I want the items to be justified at the center, so I'm going to talk about justify center. And also the items, I also want them to appear at the center of the specific div, so I'm going to talk about items center. And lastly, I also want to apply a hovering effect, so I'm going to talk about hover, and the hovering style will be BG, and this should be gray, and I'm going to have that with a saturation of 300. And that's all the classes that we need to add those specific divs or containers there. Let's just try to have a preview of what we have so far. So that's what we have achieved there. And it looks like you have a problem. I think this has to do with the width. Let's try and fix that. Oh, sorry. So here this was supposed to be 10. Yeah, so something like that. So let's now try to preview that and see if that is fixed. Yes, and then we have that fixed as would expect. So now all that we need to do is to push these items at the center here. You also notice that we have that hovering effect over there. So let's just try to have them at the center. Let me see what we have here. In fact, they should be pushed to the very end. So what I can just come and do here in the parent div that houses these divs, I can just come and talk about justify. So justify items, and I want them to be pushed to the end. So let me see if I talk about end and see if that will work for us. Okay, not yet. Alright, so that has not fixed that. Let me just try to talk about items and let me just try to talk about justify end instead of justify items end, and I hope that that should fix the problem. Let me refresh here. Yes, and now we have the items pushed to the end, and that's what we expect. So let's now just try to have the SVG icons now within the specific divs. So that should be very quick over here. So for the SVG icons, we are getting them from Halo icons. So the first one that we need here is this one over here. So I'm just going to come and grab this, and so now all that I need to do is just come and replace it with this number 1. So just press enter over there. Let me just try to ensure that everything is aligned properly. Alright, so we have that SVG appearing there. Let me just fix this real quick. So that should appear there, and so now the next one now should be the next one should be the message. So I just come and search for it here. So the message, and the message appears here, so we grab that, then we come and try to fix it here. So it should be in our second div here. There, and as usual now we need to come and fix that and that as well. So that's done. And then lastly we need the notification bell. So notification, so this one over here, so just grab it, and that should replace the third div here. like so. So let me just have everything visible here for you to view, to be able to view that. So that appears there as you'd expect. So we'll remove this one, well aligned, and that's done with the SVG. So for the last one, we're just going to have the profile image. So I'm going to get rid of that, and here I'm just going to come and talk of an image, and we're going to get that from the images folder, and the image that we want is called profile over there. So that looks good, but now we need to add a few classes to the image just to ensure that it is styled the way we want. So we're just going to add a class to that. And so the classes that we're going to add here, one has to do with the height, so W, rather the width, so it should be W, and I want that to be 10. For the height, it should be 10 as well, so that makes it to have equal sizes. And I also want the image to be rounded, and because I want it to be a circle, I'm going to talk about rounded full, so that makes it to be a perfect circle. Plus also I want it to be aligned at the center and stuff, so I'm just going to talk about justify center and also items center. So that should have everything aligned properly. Sorry, let me fix this typo here. Should be items center, so that's good. So let's refresh the browser and see what we have there so far. So Facebook Chrome here, refresh that, and boom, that's what we have there. Looks very cool. I think it's even cooler than the final product here, isn't it? Okay, looks good. That's what we have over there. So the only thing that we now need to have there is the hovering effect for our image. So we now need to add a hovering effect to the image. So that means it is we just need to add a class to the image, and let me just show you how we can achieve that specific hovering effect. So we're just going to talk about hover, which is the class, and for the effect we wanted to have a brightness, and we're going to talk about the brightness of 7.5. Yeah, so let's see that. We are so curious, so we always want to see everything that we are doing over there. Oops, that's not applied yet. Okay, well, for whatever reason that class is not working there, but this is how you can be able to achieve that brightness. If I hover over it, then you should be able to see what all that means. So that's what that class means, but for some reasons I don't know why it's not. You can try it from your end and see if that works. So the effect that we wanted to achieve, and that's how I applied, is this, so that we have that brightness changing there, but we're not able to achieve that there for whatever reasons. But let's just proceed on. Okay, so now I think we are done with the top navigation bar there, if I'm not wrong.